It's now been exactly 10 years since Jason Bourque and Daniel McAllister were arrested after burning down multiple churches in East Texas. When the 10 churches were burned down in 2010, it was a testament of faith for many church members.
We were urged by our pastor to remember that God is forgiving. None of us are perfect. And maybe we haven't done the horrible things that they did or he did, but we all need forgiveness.
If you saw the churches today, you'd never know what happened. Like a story from the Bible, Little Hope Baptist Church, Faith Church in Athens, Lake Athens Baptist, Grace Community Church, Thailand Baptist, First Church of Christ Scientist, Prairie Creek Fellowship, Russell Memorial United Methodist Church, Dover Baptist, and Clear Spring Missionary Baptist Church were resurrected and rebuilt.
The people's faith was so resilient. They bounced right back. These are strong country folks, and they didn't lose any hope.
And for some, the fires seem like a distant memory.
I would be willing to give them a second chance.
And you would welcome them to Little Hope?
Yes.
This allegation, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty? Guilty.
As for Bourque and McAllister, after pleading guilty and waiving their rights to a trial nearly a year after the fires, the two are serving life sentences in prison.
Jason Bourque is then and there with the specific intent to commit the offense arson.
Bourque, then 20, was charged with 10 counts of arson and 3 counts of second-degree attempted arson in Smith, Henderson, and Van Zant counties.
In a conservative East Texas area, I thought they got what I would expect had I done it.
You know, a lot of people from the churches, they did forgive him and they wanted his sentences to run consecutively. And I think that everybody has room for forgiveness.
He's filed for appeals over the years for a new trial, something that's never been granted.
It didn't create any anger in me that he would appeal or that he was a changed person or anything like that.
After being caught, both young men addressed East Texas to apologize for their actions. But there's still the question, why burn down churches? You said that Jason called you up about a week after he burned down the first 2, I believe.
Yes, came back on New Year's, and that's when he told me about it. It was like a week after, and we talked about it, and I was always on ice, so everything sounded good at that time.
McAllister, now 32, spends his days at Hughes Unit in Gatesville. You've previously said that you don't necessarily remember starting any of the fires. Is that still true?
Yes.
You don't remember?
No, ma'am. It was just go in fast enough to get everything and then walk out.
You never did it as an attack on God or on the church?
No, ma'am.
Is there anything that sticks with you from 10 years ago that still replays in your mind at night, maybe?
Being dumb enough to do anything that affected so many people like that.
How are you feeling about what y'all have been doing?
Felt bad that it had happened. I mean, I knew we were gonna get caught. I told him 2 weeks before we ever got arrested. I said, dude, they're not gonna let this go. That 2 weeks, we were done. Like that last one I was a part of, that was the last one.
Well, how did you come to the decision to stop?
I told him, I said, I'm done. And he was like, yeah. He said, yeah, I think, yeah, that's a good idea.
How do you feel about your sentencing and Jason's sentencing?
I think we got too much time for what we did, especially sitting around in prison with people that have done things far, far worse, and they're going home before any of us do.
Since you've been in prison, you've also come out and said that you are a Christian again. Are you still a Christian?
Yeah, right now I go on Sundays to the Mormon service.
As McAllister and I spoke, I learned about his mother's death in 2007 and his father's struggle with depression after. Do you feel that any of that might have influenced your decision or your drug use?
The drug use, yes. Because that's how I just pushed everything away, just getting high.
I believe a big influence in your life was your mother, who people say was a big part of the church that you grew up in.
That was the first death that I've seen growing up that actually affected me.
And I know that your dad struggled with that as well.
Yeah, he started drinking again pretty heavily.
McAllister almost lost his father too.
I heard yelling outside, and I walked out on the front porch and looked, and he had a rope around his neck, and we had to cut the rope to let him down.
Since he's been in prison, his dad passed away, but he still talks to his sisters. Part of the investigation, your own sister was involved. When that came out, I mean, how did you, react?
When I was young, I chose my side, and she chose her side, so, but we still got along as family.
When you think back about Jason, how do you remember him?
A good person, just always trying to, before drugs, he was, always helping people. He would put himself out there and help, no matter what.
We have an overwhelming amount of evidence especially against Jason Bourque. And I don't think he would fare so well if he were to get a new trial.
Which is something Bourque's friend Felicia Quezada hopes for.
Yeah, he did make a mistake and he learned the hard way, but they say God does everything for a reason.
How did you get to know Jason Bourque?
We went to school together. He was just cool to hang out with. We just had really good conversation, which was nice.
What was your reaction when you learned about all of these churches around you that, were being burglarized and then set on fire?
Well, I wasn't really sure. I wasn't really sure the type of person they would actually want to do. And then I turned the TV on, and that's when I saw Jason and Daniel on TV.
How did you feel to know that it was your friend?
Then you, also start to wonder, well, what was going on, He had always been kind of depressed.
And did he open up to you at all about his depression or what he was going through?
He felt like an outsider, but he was also really smart, and he was trying to quit smoking cigarettes, and he was on some medication to quit smoking cigarettes as well.
Did you see a difference when you were hanging out with him and he was taking Chantix? Did he seem maybe a little agitated or, I don't know, just different in any way?
He seemed really distant.
In 2016, Bourque said the Chantix he was prescribed in 2010 was causing him to have out-of-body experiences.
Yeah, he would talk about stuff that made no sense when he was on that prescription stuff. And I would tell him, man, you might just want to stop smoking naturally. I mean, he'd be like, yeah, you might be right. And then he'd kept taking it, though.
Would you say that that friendship is still there between the two of you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I wrote to him ever since he went to jail.
What are some of the things that he tells you about his life now?
Well, he is well educated, so he does, still take college classes. And he did get a degree. We talk about spirituality and religion. He wasn't very sure about his religion, and now we can talk on a more spiritual base.
If Jason's sentence ever was to be reduced and he was able to be free one day, what would you want people to know about him?
That he's only human.
According to the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, Bourque will be eligible for parole in April, and McAllister will be eligible as well next year. Whether the men are released or not, East Texas made it through the fires. For CBS 19, I'm Peyton Weidman.